And we are live for a new episode of the Electric Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. We're gonna start out obviously with with the Tesla AI event from yesterday, the Tesla Day, Tesla AI Day, they called it, which is similar to really very similar to Tesla Autonomy Day from 2019, where it's really much of an update to some degree, and then for the software specifically, and then the on the hardware side, you kind of replace the FSD computer that was kind of unveiled during the 2019 Autonomy Day, and replace that with the Dojo supercomputer. And then, of course, there was the one more thing at the end, which we should probably start with that because I think that's what's grabbing all the headlines right now, the Tesla bot that Elon unveiled. And I mean, I kind of knew it was coming. I wrote it in the morning. That I thought that was the leading thing for the one more thing moment. That was the leading like, suspicion that's going to be humanoid robot with especially with the rumored partnership with the famed robotist from the UCLA lab. I was ridiculed in my article that morning about that, and I mean I'm not mad about it. I think it's fair. Like even as it was happening, did you see? I don't think you didn't watch the whole event set, but did you
No.
see the partner? So what happened, set is they had this robot coming out on stage, like walking on the stage after when everyone was done with their presentation. Elon actually didn't do any presentation until the very end, until the one more thing. The what's the segment was called AI at Tesla Beyond Our Vehicle Fleet, and then this robot walks on stage, and then you think for a second it looks like an actual robot, and then starts dancing like crazy, and it's obviously a dancer in a suit, in a robot suit. So you're like, oh, he just trolled the hell out of us. But then he's like, no, this is like, well, this is a joke, but this is obvious. This is going to be a real thing. And then there's the whole animation about the actual Tesla bot, or this kind of rendering of it, or not a rendering. They had a model of it, but obviously not a prototype, not a working prototype. But yeah, so if you missed it, the general idea of it is that the Tesla bot, is going to be developed as a humanoid robot using Tesla AI technology to perform some tasks, especially dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks. So labor, like it could be used as labor, but the way he discussed it, this is going to be an actual consumer product. Almost the only example that he gave was like you can send it out to the grocery store and get groceries for you. So, so that would make it a consumer product, unless you want to have to start like what do you call it, the Uber company that does the grocery for you, like corner store or something like that.
DoorDash.
DoorDash and Postmates and all that stuff.
Right.
So it could replace those employees maybe. But anyway, the idea, like one thing that he said that I was getting to was like I think they're just doing it because they feel like they can. And sure enough, at the very end of it, he said, we are developing a lot of the technology to make that possible. And if we don't do it, somebody else will. And so we're gonna do it, and we're gonna try to do it safe, because of course seeing humanoid robots walking around everywhere, that brings you to the iRobot movie. And and I don't know if the real world Will Smith can save us from them. Though if someone can, that would probably be Will Smith. Yeah, and I so that divided a bit the Tesla community. A lot of people are like, all right, it's just another product for Tesla to get Tesla busy not doing the actual product that they're already selling and not delivering, like the full self-driving system, which is the main presentation that they had that day.
Right.
And on the other side, and I'm definitely on that side. Look, humanoid robots are I prefer to call it like general purpose robot, like a robot that can do a lot of different things, like that would replace your task that you don't want to do. It's gonna happen. Like there's no doubt about that. If it's 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, it's gonna happen at some point. And Tesla is indeed developing technology that has some synergy with the humanoid robot. mainly, of course, the AI technology, especially the computer vision system, that's going to be extremely valuable for a humanoid robot, and a lot of the hardware that comes with that, the sensors, and and also a big problem with robots. I mean, if you look at like Boston Dynamics, they used to have like this. This internal combustion engine attached to them, like or a generator running next to it to make them run. The battery itself is extremely important for a robot, and Tesla is extremely good at battery packs and power electronic and actuators and all that stuff that you need to make a robot. So, and the argument that Tesla vehicles are robots on wheel is a fair argument to a degree. I mean, they're not fully autonomous robot. There's no doubt about that, but they do understand their environment to some degree. They do interpret that environment, and they do act on those interpretation, which is what a robot would do. So personally, I'm more excited of living in a world where this project exists than this project doesn't exist. I think it's more exciting. So I'm glad about that. And for an actual like efficient use of that project, and circling back to what Tesla said this event was about, it's a recruiting event. And I think that's where there's a lot of value in the project, because for roboticists, is that how you tell the people that makes robot?
Roboticists? I don't know.
Roboticists and AI researchers, this kind of the holy grail of a robot, you put AI into a humanoid robot. That's like the holy grail of AI and robot to a degree. I mean, super intelligent AI is obviously the real difficult hand goal, but it's also difficult to make it safe. So having that at Tesla as a project, you could attract a lot of people that want to work on that. And you think that by working at Tesla AI, you would be working towards that. But of course, in practice, most of the work that they would do at Tesla would first be to deliver a full self-driving system using technology that would later end up in Tesla Bot. But in Elon fashion, he actually said that there's going to be like a working prototype next year. So I wouldn't bet any money on that, to be honest. I think that would be a pretty risky
Well, I
bet.
mean, prototype can be
Well,
pretty.
yeah. I mean, maybe something that like walks, but some of the people are like very. Are you gonna be, because the model had like 5 fingers, hands with 5 fingers. Like this has been a big problem for robotics for a long time, to like recreate a working hand that actually has some weight capacity, a load capacity. It's super hard. So it's like, are you really going to do that? Or like, and then even then he was like, I don't know. Like maybe like right now we have a 5 finger hand model, but maybe we're going to do two. I don't know. So you see that the project is not really advanced in the development. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. But still, it's something exciting. Well, of course, the Tesla detractor says like, "Oh, he was just trying to do that to like boost the stock and everything." It didn't work. So
Yeah.
if he was trying to do that, it didn't work. So let's not focus too much on that. But
I agree with you. I think there's
yeah,
like a lot of pluses and minuses on this whole
mhm.
thing. Absolutely right. It's a recruiting tool for sure. Um, but like, why make a humanoid robot? Like, why not just make like a general purpose useful robot? More like what Boston Dynamics is doing. Uh, Also, it's kind of funny. Like I don't know if I saw this on Twitter or where, but what if the robot has all the things that autopilot has, right? So theoretically, Tesla could make this robot go around and be your limo driver in some other car, right? So this
Mhm.
could be like autopilot, butler, and
But you just answered your own question about why you need to make it humanoid. So I think Tesla is using the very same approach that they do with their full self-driving system, being vision based and not using other sensors. It's that they know that the road system is developed for humans,
right,
and so you develop the same system that the human use to drive a car in a robot, which is optical imagery and actuators and a neural net for the brain to replace the brain. So they're doing the same thing here. They want the robots to be able to use tools that human use, just to really be a general purpose robot. So no,
yeah,
I understand that, but yeah, it's you greatly you raise the bar for how hard this project is going to be, though, because Like, and this is where Tesla doesn't have any expertise. Like they have great expertise with batteries and all that stuff. They have great expertise with power electronics, which this robot's going to be filled with. They have expertise in AI and computer vision and neural nets. So all that's great, but they don't have any expertise in building a humanoid robot. But that's where the partnership with what's his name, Dennis. Let's show the robot while we're at it. And we've been talking about it for 10 minutes and didn't even show the picture. There he is, or her, or they, or I assume a robot is the non-binary. I would assume.
You need your pronouns. The robot's gonna have to have pronouns. I think you go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first thing that was asking the question thing. It was like, all right, so if you guys are making it humanoid, then is it gonna be a companionship robot too? Is it gonna have emotions? Is it like all that stuff? It didn't go as far as a sex doll, but like you can see when they ask the question. When
they ask the question,
when they ask the question, everybody look at each other like, is he gonna go there? Is he gonna go there?
Please don't go there.
Yeah, so they're already talking about some specs for it, like 5'8", 45-pound carrying capacity, deadlift 150.
I wonder why they chose those specific, like why 5'8" and not 6 foot or,
Yeah, they don't want to make it scary. That's one of the parts. So not too tall. They want to make it slow, 5 miles per hour. Like they don't want the because like the Spot, like I don't know the actual like speed of Spot from Boston Dynamic, but there was this Dark Mirror episode that was basically Spot in it that goes super fast, and that's the scariest part of it. Like you have fast robot running around trying to kill you. Like this thing, you cannot run it at least, but I mean, if it has fingers, like that's not what you're scared of. That thing can grab a gun and do what we do to each other. Like,
yeah,
I'm not that concerned about outrunning like bad human beings. Like this you spend some like a minute on this during the talk. Like you're gonna be able to outrun that thing.
Also, like, okay, so 5'8", 125. That's probably like the average size of a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like the average woman is probably not very
well. No, at 5'8", I think it might be
a little taller.
Woman, yeah.
120. That's weird that they have a weight. Like I'm sure there's going to be a ton of,
and then that looks low too, right? For like, there's going to be like a big battery in it, and
right.
Speaking of battery, this is more of the synergy part here. So they're actually going to use 8 autopilot cameras around the head. They're going to use the same multicam video neural networks, all the same steps that they use to build full self-driving, an actual full self-driving computer, so they can just build more of those and put them into the robots. And this is the robotic parts of it. That's less things that Tesla's not as much expertise in it, but still like the electromechanical actuators that actually do some of those in their cars and everything. Right. So, well, yeah. All right. So now let's circle back to the event itself.
So just one last thing about the robot. My high level concern, this is probably mostly, a recruiting tool or whatever. But my concern is that it's going to divert too much attention away from like Tesla's core stuff, which right now is like getting autopilot and full self-driving working, getting their quality control up, getting the cars that they've already announced and are already behind schedule out the door. Like these are like the important things for Tesla as a business, and building a humanoid robot is probably like, in the future, it'll be an important thing, but announcing it now and spending brain cycles on it probably isn't in Tesla's best interest at this point.
Yeah, you could tell that this is extremely early on in the development of it. Like this, even these like specs and everything, I wouldn't take them for what they are. I would take them for what they are, which is just vaporware at this point. So it was really a recruiting tool, because anyone that like send their CV to Tesla right now to like, hey, I would like to work on the Tesla AI project, and then they find out that, oh, you're a smart person that they could actually use, the chances that you actually end up on that project like right away would be pretty low. You're actually going to work on this here. So before the event actually started, they released this new full self-driving demo that they have here. which is just a very quick loop. There's nothing too crazy on it. Some impressive detection for sure, like the pedestrian detection, especially a left turn here. That's always one of the hardest part to do for a self-driving car. But yeah, nothing too impressive. But then what happened early on in the presentation is that Andre Carpathy, Tesla's head of vision, came on and they basically did like I said earlier, an update to the Tesla Autonomy Day presentation of where Tesla is at the neural nets, especially following the more recent move to Tesla Vision only and stop using radar. Fascinating presentation, not for everyone. Okay, I'm going to be first to admit that there's a lot of that presentation that went way over my head, like just too technical. You need to have some kind of background in machine learning and neural nets to understand it. But Andre is very good communicator, and you can get like at least a gist of it from his presentation. And there was a lot of demonstration that actually like help us understand it too. Like this here like is also an interesting part here where they are basically trying to recreate the visual cortex as a machine. That's what they're really trying to do here, which is again, if we go back to Tesla, but that's part of the synergy. But that's what you need for FSD2 if you do just a vision-based system like Tesla is doing, because you want to recreate what human use to drive, which is our visual cortex. It's just that ours is biological, and this one is going to be computerized. But so if we just summarize it, because again, either of us is an expert in machine learning and computer vision. What I got out of the event is that Tesla is making incredible progress with their neural nets. The technology is improving fast, and the strategy is working. The getting an insane amount of data from the fleet and using that with labeling, and there was a part about them. They have now 1,000 labelers working for them, and they're also developing auto labeling tools to accelerate the labeling process, and then using that clean data to feed and train the neural nets, all the different neural nets that they use, the Hydra system of neural nets, they call it Hydra nets. It's working, but there's still problems. There's still problems that needs to be solved. And the very end of the event, where like Elon admitting that we still have a lot of problems, and that's where we're here, because we're recruiting you guys to help us solve these problems. So this is where like there were no talks of timelines during that whole event, like zero talk of timelines. So Elon, as recently, has still been saying that the Tesla is going to deliver a full self-driving system by the end of the year. But what that actually means is getting murkier and murkier. Like this feature complete thing, like that is technically, to a degree, that's already in beta, like the early access program in beta. That's feature complete as per Elon, because feature complete is not being it's not about relying on a driver. That you can be feature complete and still rely on a driver to pay attention at all time. So I don't know. I came out of it like Tesla is making incredible progress. They have insane technology, but they haven't solved the problem of full self-driving just yet, and they are actually just in the recruitment phase to help them solve the issue. So
I mean, of course, they're not just going to flip a switch and it's going to be done, and then they don't need to do full self-driving anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to continue to need to do it. They're going to need to recruit more people. But the way it was laid out, it was kind of like, I mean, it was very much admitting like they're not there yet, and they're not close yet. And if you think you're going to get full self-driving by the end of the year, it's probably really not going to happen. I mean, we get beta, whatever, but
the thing is, it looks like the rate of improvement is accelerating. So that's the exciting part. And a lot of that is actually for the second part of the presentation that was a little bit more accessible, because especially like our hardware people that can actually like see the products, it helps them in their mind, as myself included, is the Dojo supercomputer unveiling. But even that's not done yet. So part of it is done, but it's not fully done. Like this thing is obviously a render, and that's the only actual like image of the overall Dojo computer. But this is part of it, because this is going to help Tesla scale, because they're going to have the compute power to train their neural nets, their mini neural nets, and that will help them achieve full self-driving. So from again, also I'm also not a chip expert, disclosure, and but there seems to be some significant breakthroughs here with what they developed here, and this is really only the second Tesla chip. The second chip that Tesla developed in house. There was the full self-driving chip that's in the full self-driving computer inside the vehicles, but this is the only second chip that Tesla has unveiled, developed it completely in house, and yeah, they call it the D1 chip. And basically, the big improvement is the bandwidth of the chip is much wider, much bigger, and also the compute power is pretty significant here. You see teraflops, 360 teraflops, and the bandwidth is 10 um, terabits or tetrabits, TBS per seconds.
Terabits per second.
Um, Yeah, and so on the bandwidth side, like that's where they see that the Dojo chip is compared to the best GPUs out there, best TPUs out there, and even like the startups even what the startups are claiming out there. So Tesla believes that there are like several times more bandwidth than the other chip system. So this chip, one of the other big breakthrough is that they don't use any kind of glue system to stack them up together. They just have to physically stack them up together, uh, and they can put 500,000 of them into one of those compute planes that ends up in these training tiles. So they add an actual chip, and then they add an actual tile. So that's where they are right now. They managed to produce a tile of their system, and the tile alone by itself is 9 petaflop, they call it.
Petaflops.
Yeah, petaflops, and 36 terabytes of per seconds of bandwidth in one of those tiles here. So yeah, to know where they are at exactly, and there was a lot of that during the event, like a lot of like last minute stuff. Like this event literally couldn't have existed like last week because there was a lot of things that happened like just recently. So this is one of the tiles here that they actually hooked up and ran a neural net, one of Caperty's neural nets, and they announced it to Caperty that they were for the first time running his neural net on a Tesla Dojo training tile for the first time at the event. So this just happened literally like days before this. But then you put some of those styles together to have an actual like supercomputer cabinet. It's something that people are more used to when we're talking about supercomputers, like an actual cabinet. And a cabinet would be like one of these here. Like that's a computing cabinet, and one of those has two by three tiles in a tray, and 2 trays per cabinet, and that's 100 petaflop per cabinet, 12 tetrabytes per seconds of bisection bandwidth, and you can put 10 of those together, and that brings you the actual Dojo supercomputer, which they call the Exapod, Dojo Exapod, and that's the what's that exaflop. So that's the first that becomes the exaflop supercomputer, which is the new benchmark for supercomputer. That's what Intel, that's what a lot of those big companies now are trying to achieve with their supercomputers, having a through exaflop of compute power. Tesla actually claims 1.1 exaflop with this, and they also claim to be more efficient in terms of power consumption and lower latency. And they need all of that to train their neural network. So they claim to have now the fastest AI training computer in the world. And this is a new business unit for Tesla too, because of course they want to use it to train their own neural nets. But in the future, they are talking about leasing the computing powers of those computers to other AI researchers to develop other neural nets and other system. And they're already talking about the next generation of it in the good old Tesla fashion. It's never good enough, and they're even talking about 10x improvement in some aspects of the performance here, uh, which is not impossible because they had some breakthroughs in there. So the first generation of the breakthroughs, and then they can the D1, the Dojo One chip is the first generation, and then if you can refine those breakthroughs, you can have a better system. Um, Yeah, well, I didn't write an article on that yet, but I've been reaching to some people about it, and I'm gonna do something about it that we can discuss real quick on the podcast. I think one of the most interesting part of the presentation yesterday too was the simulation part. They talked about a lot. They talked a lot about their simulation system to help train to create to create scenarios that you couldn't find well that could happen in the real world, but it's hard to find the video data to train the neural net with it. So they created in this simulation that was very impressive. I mean, I don't know if we can. Oh, it's gonna take a while to find it, but they have this very impressive videos where they use actual videos from the cars to create simulations of the environment and to not only make it realistic but make it look just like it would be a video from a Tesla Autopilot suite of cameras. So by doing that, they can actually use. Though they say that they're not doing that yet, they're getting close to being good enough to use it, but they don't want to take any risk. They want to use real world data for it. They just use it to do some testing for now. But they're able to like recreate simulated environment that looks extremely realistic. They look like they're coming from a Tesla car. And they use a Cybertruck as an example where you have a Cybertruck going in front of the car, and the Cybertruck already looks CGI in real life. So in the simulation, it screws with your brain.
Yeah, they made it nice and easy to for the robots to render. It's like a polygon.
Yeah, and they also talked about that being possibly a new business unit for Tesla too, having a simulation, because it's basically like they kept comparing it to GTA, to Grand Theft Auto. Like this could be like a new video game engine that they're developing, really. So that would be something there. And we know that Elon loves video game, and we know that Tesla has been integrating a lot of video games inside their cars. So be on the lookout for that. All right. So before the actual event earlier this week, what was dominating the news cycle for Tesla was this NHTSA probe that they're doing, a new one. Like, you
A
have to
fresh probe.
yeah, fresh probe. You have to specify which one when it comes to Tesla and NHTSA, because the NTSB, they go after Tesla often. This one is a strange one, really, because it's specifically I can read the most accident took place after dark, and the crash scene encounter, including control measure at first, such as first responder vehicle lights, flare, unlimited arrow board, and road cones. So they found 11 specific accidents that happened involving Tesla vehicle believed to be using autopilot, and first responder vehicles, and first responder emergency equipment on the side of the road. So the investigation is specifically about that. They want to look if there's a defect related to autopilot when it comes to emergency vehicles and emergency equipment. And they reference these 11 accidents that happened over the last 3 years. And I would assume that the reason behind the investigation is that there seems to be a ramp up, because out of those 11, there's 4 that happened this year alone, and we are just halfway through the year. So I would assume that that's what's prompting this investigation. So it would be fair. However, I think they're looking at the wrong thing here. And I don't think that focusing on emergency vehicle is going to be really productive, because we know that Tesla has a problem when driving on the highway if there's a stop object. Like, or at least it has to for years. Apparently, the vision system update has helped a lot with that. So though that hasn't been deployed in every cars out there, so we don't know exactly. It's harder to make a comparison. It's people that are getting the new Model 3, the new Model Y, the new Model S that can experience them. And if those people don't have that much experience with the previous system, it's harder. But yeah, I mean, if you've used Autopilot a lot, you know that sometimes there's no matter what kind of object, a stop object, most likely a car. And I think the problem here is that often on the highway, what you're going to have stop is an emergency vehicle stop to help the stall car or something like that. But a stall car itself can be a problem with Tesla on the highway. So that's the issue here. You could go after that as a defect, but that would be hard too, because Tesla doesn't claim to be able to prevent any kind of accident on the highway with the autopilot system. Obviously, that's the goal, but you always need to be paying attention. And most of those accidents where you have like a fire truck, for example, like this accident, that's like a fire truck on the lane that stopped and then you just crashed into it. Most often than not, the driver wasn't paying attention. Like, and we have several instances where they admitted that they were on autopilot and they were paying attention. So I think really all of this investigation, and you can share your opinion with me, but I would think that the only thing that could come out of it that would point to Tesla being in the wrong here is if they can find, and I don't know if they can even find that autopilot makes you more complacent with the system and makes you not pay attention, and that could lead to those kind of accidents. But any kind of actual defect of Tesla, like not detecting emergency vehicle, I don't think there's much meat there.
Yeah, and it should be noted that emergency vehicles are not standard at all. Like, there's all kinds of crazy fire truck configurations,
Mm-hmm.
ambulances, everything like that. So it's way harder, especially in the middle of the night when it seems like most of these things happen, for Tesla to be able to detect, if the lights are way higher or not at all or whatever. It's hard for it to detect. And, obviously this is something that radar, LiDAR could help with, but that's not in the equation anymore. But it's a hard problem to solve. And obviously Tesla hasn't solved it yet.
No. This is an example.
Good example.
Yeah, for people that are just listening only, we were looking at a crash Model S into a fire truck. All right. So last week we talked about how Tesla was enabling salvage cars back on the supercharger network, and we were so excited about it. Like, this is Tesla righting a wrong. Turns out it wasn't a feature, it was a bug.
Wronging a right is now what they're doing.
So you can see it like that, or you can see it like, oh, this is actually a bug that enabled this, and now they fixed the bug. But sadly, they reverted, and now the salvage cars are back not having access to the supercharger network. So I think it's a problem. I think if there's truly a safety concern about it, which is which is fair, it could be a safety concern. I think you need to at least provide a path for those people for Tesla service to inspect the cars, and if they determine that the car is okay, they should be allowed to use the supercharger network again, because this is a good thing. Salvage cars is good, and especially with Tesla vehicles, especially with the body work, how much it's expensive. You have a lot of cars that are getting salvage title for just body issues, like aesthetic issues. The actual powertrains are perfectly fine. I think that's a real problem. It's not for the mission.
So a couple of things. One, those salvaged owners are now going to have to go to if they want to do long distance charging, they're going to have to go to CHAdeMO stations with
no, but that's the thing. Apparently, all fast charging is banned from it.
Really? So the car itself will not fast charge.
At least on Tesla's website, it says it says supercharging and third party fast charging.
Oh, interesting. Try one of those things out, because I was going to say, they have that like SeaTac or another Korean or Chinese company is selling a CCS combo to Tesla adapter. I wonder if that would work on the salvage cars. Probably not, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know if many people actually tried it, so maybe it's worth trying. But based on Tesla's website, it wouldn't even work.
Yeah, and the other thing, like we noted last time, is Tesla's letting theoretically letting other manufacturers' cars on the network, which they have absolutely no control over. So if they're doing that, they should allow salvage cars. I don't know. Seems like kind of a no-brainer there.
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing that happened last night when Tesla was holding the event, they updated their configurator to more than double the non-refundable order fee for all cars. So it used to be $100. Now it's $250. So for those who didn't know, Tesla used to have a deposit system when you place a new order. So you place a new order and you put $1,000, and when you actually take delivery of the car and you pay for the car, your total bill is the cost of the car minus the $1,000 deposit. So you pay the difference. And Tesla changed that last year. And 2019, they changed that in 2019 and introduced a non-refundable $100 fee. So whether or not you ever take delivery of your car, if you place the order, it's $100, and you never get it back if you don't take delivery. So it's an actual cost. It's not a deposit. and for some reason they decided to upgrade that from 100 to 250 this week. So not a giant deal or anything like that, but worth noting, I think, because again, it's non-refundable. The Rimac Nevera and the Model S Plaid went head to head in a drag race, which is arguably the fastest production car, or I should say quickest production car drag race ever. Because these two cars are, it's a cool shot right here, right? You know, you have the Plaid with the and then the Nevera right next to it. These are the two quickest production cars in the world right now, and our friends at Drag Times got their hands on both. I couldn't find out that actually Brooks from Drag Time actually bought the Nevera.
No.
No, he just got his hands on it.
Yeah, they're just doing a tour. They're in
Okay.
LA. I think Car and Driver's there as well. So
Okay.
there'll be some more Nevera stuff coming up.
Yeah, and I actually I don't think they have a Plaid too. I think they rented it from a
Right.
Tesla owner, Casey Spencer, I think was his name. Yeah, but they managed to get the two of them on the same drag strip and do a pretty insane drag race. You can check it out on Drag Times channel right there. But basically, what we thought was going to happen happened. The first race was pretty close, 8.65 for a quarter mile for the Nevera, and the Plaid got a 9.27. But I think the reaction time of the Model S was a little bit better on this one. The other races was were
Not
well,
as
I mean,
close.
pretty close too, but 8.64 8.64 for the Nevera, 9.31 for the Model S. Of course, we say that now, but like we understand one's is $1 million car, and the other one is a $100-something-thousand car. One is a two-door sports car, supercar, hypercar, and the other one is basically a family sedan. So it's there's two things that's amazing about it. First of all, that if you want to pin the two fastest production cars in the world against each other right now, it's gonna happen to be two electric vehicles. And the other thing is what is extremely impressive is that the Model S Plaid, being a family sedan, is able to be that close to the fastest production cars in the world, the Rimac Nevera. But it's also impressive that Rimac is able to achieve that with the Nevera, like a sub 9 second quarter mile. Is just pure insanity. It's just that you have to pay $1 million for it. And I know some people are like, it's not really a production car. They're only making 150 of them. Like technically, it's a production unit. It's not like a
Yeah,
one-off
all the other
prototype.
like Porsche Spiders
Mm,
and whatever,
mm.
they didn't make a ton of those either.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, some news for our Indian friends, and I know that Electric has some fans in India, and they've been watching closely to know when Tesla will actually launch in the network in the country, in the market. Sorry, and it's been kind of murky lately. We know that earlier this year Tesla actually registered a business unit in India, but so the laws for importing cars in India are very protectionist, and they want to encourage the domestic market. And they really were pushing for Tesla to just launch in the market by building a factory and building cars there. And Tesla, that's not really Tesla's approach. Normally, they like to, even if they plan to eventually build a factory in the market, they want to test the waters by uh, importing some cars and see how they do in the market. Also, you need to invest in service centers and supercharging station and all that stuff. It's a big investment. Um, so Tesla was lobbying for the government for the last few months to reduce the import duties for electric cars in order to start importing them in the country and eventually maybe deploy a factory there, much like they did with the Chinese market. They imported a car first, and then are very successful right now with the Gigafactory Shanghai. So it looks like a similar approach is going, but the government still hasn't approved this cut on those import duties for electric cars. Yet Tesla appears to, well, we don't know for 100% fact that this is Tesla testing those vehicles, but through Model 3s, camouflage Model 3s were being tested in India this week. Were spotted being tested. They had the sensors on the wheels, some camouflage even on the steering wheel here. Oh, wait a second! I just realized this is a right-hand drive. Is in India a right-hand drive market?
Yeah, the British.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Imperialism, colonization, all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, if it's indeed Tesla testing those cars here and not just privately imported for whatever reason, I mean, I find it hard to
Why would
believe why
why
would
would you put
someone.
that
Yeah,
under?
but yeah, they have these more traditional like automaker camouflage right there. Tesla is bringing the first Model Y to Europe now, and we noted last week that they put this decal on it that's kind of laughing at other automakers using this legacy camouflage versus not Model Y written on them. But if it's Tesla, they actually use those. But we've seen Tesla also in China using those. So this is, and then these cars are probably coming from China also. I would.
You know what? You know what's kind of ironic or
Mm.
whatever. Like the camouflage is the exact. It does the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like you see a car with
Yeah.
camouflage coming down the road,
Oh yeah.
that's an important car to like take pictures of, whatever. You see a car, you're like, I don't really recognize that
Yeah.
one, and in normal colors
Mhm.
or whatever. So basically, putting the camouflage on it is like writing, look at me," which is kind of what Tesla
Yeah.
did, I guess. There,
Yeah. With the not my Model Y does the same thing too,
right?
but not Model Y, I should say. But so some people don't know, but automakers also have test mules where they use existing cars body and they would test a new powertrain or something like that
Yeah.
for completely different models underneath. And those you never know. You'd be next to them and you'll never know. Uh, but at some point you need to actually test the aerodynamic, the body of the car and everything. So that's when those camouflage car come in. All right, we're gonna move on from Tesla news, and now we have a few other interesting pieces of news from the rest of the EV industry. But if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comment section right now. We'll get to them right after. We've been adopting this format of if you are just communicating in the chat, please do it in the lower cases. And if you actually have a questions or a topic you want us to discuss, put them in all cap, and it's gonna be easier for us to sort through at the end. I see a lot of people already been doing that. Appreciate it. Um, all right. Audi launched the e-tron S in the US market. So nothing too shocking here. If you're familiar with the e-tron already, you're going to be pretty familiar with the e-tron S. It's the new top performance version with a tri-motor powertrain in it. So in terms of actual format, it's very similar to the e-tron, a little bit sportier look and a little bit wider, 2 inches wider, I think. But yeah. The big difference is the tri-motor powertrain. You have two electric motors on the rear axle, providing 370 watts of power boost power. That's just the power. What do you call it? Boost power. I think that's their mode. That yeah, Audi have these different modes, and you can only get the full power in boost power mode, something like
Mm.
that. Just remember that from my e-tron test. That was a while ago. But yeah, I mean the e-tron Audi's been doing actually pretty good with their e-tron lately in the US. Like this year with the 2021 version, it got a price cut, it got a little range bump too. So it helped the car a lot in the US market. Now this one here is going to be lower volume. Of course, this is the high performance version. It starts at 84,800, and there's also a sports bag version, just like the regular e-tron, which is $3,000 more expensive. But yeah, I mean it's one more option in the U.S. market for the e-tron.
Yeah, and we should note like the three motor option is kind of on its way to the four motor option that Porsche and Audi are working on for like the
Mm.
Macan uh, all-wheel drive, the Porsche Macan, and then of course there's going to be an Audi version of that. So what is that called? The PIP or the P? Something with the
PPE, I
P?
think. P-
Yeah,
PPE
that platform.
platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that platform's coming. So this is kind of like halfway there.
hmm the sticking with the Volkswagen group, but this one VW, the ID4, which is kind of the cheaper little brother of the e-tron, is already on the U.S. market, but those cars are coming from Germany. Zyko. I have a tough time pronouncing that factory, but the big factory in Germany that Volkswagen has, and they are in limited volume. Uh, not just because they're coming from Germany, but also from the automotive market right now is kind of disarray with the chip shortage. But we have limited volume, and but we knew that was gonna happen even before the chip shortage. We knew that the real volume was gonna come once Volkswagen starts production of the ID4 at the Chattanooga factory in Tennessee. And the news this week is that the first pre-production units have come off the line. That was a big deal for Volkswagen USA. They produced the first few units here with this white one. That's called the Glacier White. Beautiful. It's a beautiful car. The ID4, especially in person. Like I've seen a few times in person, and I'll always like this. In my opinion, by far the best car with the VW badge on it. Like there's a lot of very good looking Audi, a lot of good looking Porsche. But Volkswagen, I mean, I like the Golf. I've always been a fan of the Golf. But other than that, I was like the Passat and the what do you call it? I forget even their names, but the ID4 it's a chef kiss. It's beautiful. And it's not full production is not coming quite yet, though. It's still planned for next year, but I think it's very early next year. I think
Yeah, and we're actually right after IAA, which we should probably do a little thing on. But right after the IAA event, there's an event in Chattanooga that I will be going to check out the American-made version. So that's on the 15th of September. So not even a month away. So those are going to ramp up pretty quick. And I think all-wheel drive is coming. So I think we're going to get our first look at the all-wheel drive version of the ID4.
Yeah.
So it should be pretty cool. I think all-wheel drive is really going to help drive sales too.
Yeah, especially in the Northeast and in Canada. Yeah, I mean, this is exciting. It's just more production of electric vehicles in the U.S. You have this, and I'm gonna test out right after you test out this. I'm gonna test out another American-made vehicle, and I cannot confirm it just yet. I don't think they've announced the test drive just yet, but we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff coming up in the coming months about the U.S.-made cars. So stay on the lookout. But yeah, IAA is happening apparently. Like everything so far so good.
Think it's gonna happen. I mean, COVID numbers keep going up. The getting into Germany keeps on switching a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're all Fred, myself, and Micah are going to be in Munich for the show. If you are a European listener and want to stop by, definitely come by our booth. It'll be in the mobility area, and
the e-bikes and stuff.
Yeah,
scooters and whatnot.
But we'll be trucking all around. So we'll all have our Electrek shirts on. You can find us pretty easily.
Yeah,
front and back logos.
Oh no, I'm gonna have my Electric Cars of Note shirt that you can find on our Teespring. It's just called Spring now. Spring store. Electric store.electric.co. You find it, right?
I think it's merch.electric.
Merch.
Whatever. They both work.
Yeah. Oh, this is not backing up. What is happening here? Genesis revealed their first EV based on the eGMP platform. There's no specs or anything like that just yet. It's all just the design here. Oh boy, I wish I could actually produce some pictures of it. Yeah. So you have this right here, this right here.
Good looking car.
Yeah. It's a clean look. I'm not the biggest fan of the color. I think they call it the booger. But other than that, the wheels are pretty wild too. But I mean, those look a little bit big, a little bit too wild for an actual production car. But you never know. Kind of a hatchback format. I mean, I'm sure they're going to call it a crossover because everything's a crossover these days. Or even an SUV. But
yeah, it looks somewhere in between the EV6 and the Ioniq 5 in terms of, what is it? Is it a car? Is it a SUV? Whatever.
And there's no spec, but I mean, it's the eGMP platform, so you know that it's going to be similar, if not exactly the same as the specs you find in the EV6 from Kia and the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai. So this is going to be great specs. Like I'm not worried about those whatsoever. And it's Genesis, which is a little bit more higher hand, so you're going to have a better finish. Well, not instantly finish, but more luxury features, let's say. Did they say when it's coming? North American deliveries will start next year. Next year. Okay, so we should have more details about it fairly soon if deliveries start next year. Um, yeah, I mean, I like the design. Maybe not the headlights. That what's happening with those like double headlights? Like
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
this right here, double headlights. But the well, the, can you call that a grill? The way that's like it's so at the bottom, it's like just like a hair intake. Like it's the grill is
Yeah.
not high enough that you could say they went with a no grill system. It's just they kind of went in between.
Also, I'm not sure. I mean, it's probably the European version, especially with the license plate shape like that. But
Mhm.
you can also see that the rear view mirrors or cameras, they're not
Yeah,
actual. So
but in Europe they're allowed to do that in
yeah,
Europe. So
they're allowed to do it.
yeah, in the US they I mean, last I heard, Nitsa was actually taking comments about from like trying to see if they're gonna allow it. They were trying, and
Yeah, you remember the original Tesla Model X, like
Mhm.
prototype, like first time they announced it had that. It's been like it feels like almost a decade that they've been waiting on
Yeah,
this.
but that was back when Tesla has like had zero influence basically.
Right.
So Elon, I think Elon said, "Oh, we reached out to Nitsa, but we never heard back or something
Yeah,
like that."
they wouldn't take our calls.
Yeah, now Tesla has definitely more access, and Audi,
Access.
yeah, yeah,
They're
maybe not for the right reasons, but
yeah,
yeah.
the lawyers.
And but Audi has been pushing too for because they know how big of a difference it makes for their European version versus their American version in terms of efficiency. I think they're talking about like 5% and things like that. So
Here's what they should do. They should make mirrors that come out. I don't know if you can see. And then when you're going fast and aerodynamics matters, they go like this, and then there's cameras like right there. Right? That's
I
free.
it's
Free
really
design advice.
no patent, open source.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I know what you're trying to do here, but I think you still have the same problem, and you need approval to just
Right.
use just camera system too, because at one point it's only going to be cameras. So, but I don't know who's fighting against that. To be honest, like I think it's more of a bureaucratic issue at this point. I don't think no one is like there's no like those groups like Mom for Safety and things like that. Like I don't think that's like their concern or anything. Like there's no group fighting for it. The Mac E GT, the sexiest Mackie out there, which Mackie's already a sexy car, but yeah, the GT version, which is a higher performance and also like some upgrade to the look. Though I mean, I don't think these pictures give it justice, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, you had a
yeah,
red one.
yeah, I had a red one, but it wasn't a GT version.
Right.
Didn't have the same fascia. But yeah, they started deliveries. There was on the Mackie forums they posted the first delivery, and then we asked for a spokesperson, and they confirmed it. And deliveries have started. What's the price on that variant? It's
The GT is 60,000, I want to say, and the GT Performance, which is a little bit faster, is 65,000.
okay.
And that's before federal, so take
Mm.
10,000 off if you live in a friendly state.
Yeah, California, New York. Yeah, those wheels are pretty cool though. Those wheels are wild. I can get on board with those. Anything else important to note here? Nope. All right.
There is a the nice thing about the GT is that the mileage you think you would lose a lot of mileage, but it's actually the same 270-mile EPA, and then the performance drops down 10 miles. We've talked
If you
about that
don't
in the past, yeah.
if you don't use it like you should use it.
Right, exactly. Which nobody will do that.
Yeah, who buys a GT car and then don't have fun with it? I guess as soon as you put some fun into the mix, that EPA range becomes a lie. All right. We have another. And then that I used this picture for the Norway article. Well, yeah, we had some more data coming out of Norway, and I mean, I always like to talk about data coming out of Norway because I think it gives us a little glimpse of the future here. But and it's not just the electric cars. Like, there's a lot of electric cars. I like to look at how low the gasoline car sales are in Norway, because this is what the automakers should really be paying attention to when they plan their production capacity for electric cars. Is look at this here. So at this time last year, um, I mean, it was already extremely low because this is Norway and they are by far the leader in EV adoption. But petrol engine powered vehicles was a 10% market share, diesel 11.5, hybrids, which includes plug-ins, 30%, and zero emission all electric cars 47%. Now this year, in 1 year, market share for both petrol engine cars and diesel engine cars slashed by more than half. They are now just over 4% each, and all electric vehicles 64.1%. You include the hybrids in that, it's the 27%, which brings you to over 90% at this point. Over 90%, and this is for July 2021. You go for the full year, and you're at 58.38. So also 90%. But and 5.5 for fossil fuel powered vehicles. And I mean, this is wild here, because also July, it's a month where Tesla is not actually delivering any shipment to Norway, and Tesla has a big impact in Norway, of course, and they have an impact when a shipment comes in because they don't have any local production. So this is the third month of the quarter is generally where Norway is achieving the best numbers, because Tesla brings like 1,000 more cars on the market, and that makes a big difference. This is not the case here. Why I use actually the Mackie picture is because the Mackie is the leader right now in Norway. At least it was for last month, with almost 900 deliveries in the market. Skoda doing great with the Enyaq too. ID4 for 100 deliveries, not bad. EQC 300, e-tron 300. Like these cars are doing so well in those markets for the size. It's impressive. But yeah, I mean, at this pace, like, and I know people like the EV detractors like to say like, don't look at Norway because it's a small, rich market with crazy high EV incentives, so it's not representative of the rest of the world. Okay, but I look at it different. Like, yes, for sure, Norway is richer than most countries out there. But when you look at the EV incentive, I disagree. Like, well, yeah, it's high. There's a big difference, but what it shows us, it doesn't show us how good EVs are with high incentive. It shows us how good EV do when you corrected the on-price externalities of gasoline cars and basically corrected the free market. Like we keep like in the US, people love like our free market and everything, but free market is only works if you correct the natural issues, and the big ones when it comes to cars is that you don't account for the cost of burning gas in those cars, and that has a giant cost on your health, which has a giant cost on finance, on economy, and on the environment. So all Norway did is that actually give subsidy. Well, they didn't give incentive to buy an electric car by giving you like rebates and tax credit and stuff like that. Instead, what they did is that they taxed those, how they call it, only petrol engine and only diesel engines more to represent that cost. So all they did is they fixed the market, and you can see that when the market is fixed, EVs dominate. There's just no doubt around it. And as the price of electric cars come down, as more options are available in different segments, and of course the big problem in the US is pickup trucks are the best selling passenger cars for some reason. And so once you had models in that segment, you're gonna have a very similar situation that you have in Norway. It's gonna happen quick, a lot quicker than most people think, by far. Is there GM news coming out or something that
Yeah, I'm
we should
actually
discuss?
writing it up now.
Okay.
The GM is recalling all Chevy Bolts, and it looks like they're throwing LG under the bus here.
The LG, you mean, or
Yeah,
okay? Yeah. For people who haven't been following this, we've been pressuring GM a lot to actually recall the Bolt TV over the battery fires that have been happening. Like Hyundai did a while back, and GM for like there's been a problem with their cells in all basically all Bolt TV since until 2019, and the same cells were found in the, well, they said it's not exactly the same cells, so they don't have the same problem, but the end result was extremely similar, which is your car catching on fire in a garage. So they can claim all they want that it's not exactly the same problem. The end result was extremely similar, and Hyundai did the right thing and they recalled the already replaced the batteries. GM was always extremely reticent to do it. Most recently, they released different recalls where they said we're going to replace some modules and things like that. But now it sounds like they just announced that they're doing everything they're going to do.
Yep, the post is up.
Okay, it just came out, everyone, so you can check it out on Electrek. But right now, let's just jump into the comment section and to end the show. We're already an hour in, everyone.
All right, so there's one guy said "what do," so in caps. That's not helpful. And then nobody else really wrote in caps until we get down to Seattle limit, and it's what will the Tesla bot be used on Mars?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people commenting that like it's just Elon is just using Tesla to build like labor for SpaceX, the Mars colony of SpaceX Mars colony.
It would be more interesting if they used them at the Tesla factory to build, Teslas.
Yeah, Elon did mention that, but he said like for manufacturing it makes more sense to build like purpose built robot for those things. And he said most of what can be automated is already automated at Tesla too. So he said he seemed to say that it wasn't a big driver for that right now. Like to me, what it sounds like the Tesla bot, what it's going to be at first at least, is they want a rough vehicle in which a new product that's going to be like a vehicle like product, like a humanoid robot, to expand their work with AI. Because let's be honest, like, so whenever they solve the full self-driving problem, like there's going to be room for improvement for sure. Like you want to go from like twice as safe as a human driver to 4 times as safe to 10 times as safe, and even more probably. But there's going to be a limit to that at one point where it's going to improve fast too with the neural net system. Like it's just, I mean, computers learn a lot faster than humans. Like that's obvious. But once they know how to learn, that's the difficult part. So, but once you solve that, you solve that. But then Tesla has this crazy, incredible AI workforce that they need to keep going, basically. So you can leverage their work on that and put it in another product, and that's going to be Tesla Bot. And at first, it's going to be like very limited in uses, but it's going to improve over time, and hopefully have a high robot-like future. If you guys remember that movie, minus the rebellion, the robot rebellion, obviously. Though it could be exciting for a little while, as long as the dead count's not too high. Just kidding, everyone. Yeah.
All right. The next question: would you be surprised if Cybertruck deliveries don't start until 2023?
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know would be more surprising, 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, I would be pleasantly surprised if they start by the end of 2022. Well, I mean, he said delivery, so I could definitely see a scenario like Model 3 2017, where Tesla delivers a few hundred units by the end of the year, but the ramp up doesn't happen until 2018, which would be 2023 for Cybertruck.
Yeah.
So I have 200,000 units in mind for the ID4 in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the kind of question or the underlying question is, is Volkswagen serious, or are they going to make a ton of them?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you build a battery factory and a standalone factory in the US unless you're serious about selling these. I think the public is starting to like them. When there's more powerful all-wheel drive versions, they're going to like them even more. When they fix their center stack a little bit better, they're going to like them even more than that. So I don't know. I think VW's got a closet, a sleeper on its hands.
Yeah, I wouldn't also be surprised if Audi ends up using the factory and then they start producing the ID Q4 there, e-tron Q4, and things like that too. I think it could become like a hub for Volkswagen's group EV production in the US. Sorry.
It's all right. And then we only have one more all caps one. Adam Wilcox, thanks for the Bolt coverage.
It literally just come out like there was a podcast exclusive before it was. I mean, do we go? Because I think I see some question that people just didn't do all caps. You
Yeah,
guys
I should
aren't
probably.
listening in school, so do we just skip
I
them because
I
they're
can
not?
root through there. All right, Tesla bot could be the most disruptive product ever unveiled. Yes, it could be, but probably not for a while. What if it can be nuclear? That seems quite dangerous. Tesla bot will be space bound.
Yeah, it's the Mars thing again.
Lunar and Mars, which is where Elon's long term focus is. Okay. Tesla bot could be plan B if autopilot FSD doesn't work out. Not even sure how that works.
Yeah, because I mean, if you solve it for the robot, you solve it for the car. It's easier to have the car like having direct access to the accelerator inside the car, acceleration and everything, than putting a robot inside of it.
Green Gold, what do you think of Elon saying the Cybertruck cost over $1 million to make? I don't think that's on a per
Yeah, I think
unit basis.
he said that like if we were to produce it right now, like the first few units that would be delivered, he meant the importance of the production ramp up, like the first few cars, the big loss on it, so they have to be ready to quickly ramp them up to bring the cost down.
Can a Tesla bot build a fence, fix plumbing, or redo my roof?
Eventually, that's the long term goal.
You might be
I
dead
would
by
think,
then.
but yeah,
Yeah,
that could be a possibility.
that's the biggest problem. You got to stay alive that long. Ola says, I am quite surprised that Elon does not pick the low hanging fruits of marine market for leisure crafts, 15 to 30 foot with existing Tesla technology. Well, I don't know how low hanging that fruit is because
Yeah.
the numbers aren't really there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's other companies doing it. People, there's a Vision Marine that's doing it. There's
Micah had a story this week on it too.
yeah, the Canada, something like that. Yeah, they've been
really
around.
cool.
They've been around for a while. But yeah, Vision Marine has been around for a while. They used to be known as Electric Boat Canada, but they are also in the U.S. And Taiga Motors, which company I'm a big fan of, investor in it, full disclosure, is making their watercraft, which is basically a Sea-Doo, electric Sea-Doo. There's a lot of company in Sweden. Is Shore X that makes a very cool boat too, electric boat. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, they're definitely out there. All right. What if China copies Tesla bot? Oh no. It makes theirs twice as strong and fast.
And give them guns.
Right.
And the world becomes gets invaded.
I feel like having little propellers like Inspector Gadget would also be pretty important if you're gonna, start an army.
Can you charge them at supercharge? Yeah, I mean that probably like that's one of the advantage. Like we talk about the AI synergy, but the Tesla's gonna use is like the same battery modules, but they're gonna put that in the Tesla bot and same charging technology and all that stuff that's already exists. That's what Elon's talking about. Like most of the pieces of the puzzle is already there. It's just putting them together in the humanoid robot format.
Right. Another point, it is also meant to scare off any attempt to unionize workers. What if they had 4 arms? We're getting some really deep thinkers here.
Yeah.
All this robot stuff is a fascinating distraction. The real news was Dojo's capabilities, a machine that builds the machines.
A machine that trains a machine. Yeah. That's more like it.
This reminds me of Asimo from South Park, which was a parody of Honda's Asimo. Yes.
Yeah, Asimo's been around for years, but Asimo is kind of outdated at this point. Came in robotics. If you look at the Boston Dynamics things that are coming out these days, it's not even close. Like Asimo was this clunky, slow moving thing.
Yeah. All right. If you want to get a layperson's understanding of how far ahead Tesla is with respect to other companies, check out Lex Friedman video, Tesla AI.
I'll check that out. I like Lex Friedman. He's a very smart guy.
Yeah, I love his stuff.
Yeah. I think he's working on I don't want to say humanoid robots, but he's definitely working with robots now, and he's worked with Boston Dynamics in the past too.
Yeah, he's at MIT, right?
I don't think he's at MIT anymore.
Okay.
I think he went and joined Joe Rogan in Austin, like everybody else. But
he's working with Joe Rogan on robots.
No, I don't think he's working with him. But he moved to MIT's in Boston or Cambridge or whatever it is. He moved to Austin.
I can see an army of Joe Rogan testosterone on robots.
Robots on TRD. Yeah.
All right. Military applications. Do you feel the bot is a distraction from full self driving? Yes. Should all the focus go there? No. And then once working, expend to the robot. Yes.
I actually don't think it's really a distraction from FSD, because I think they're gonna recruit people and then like do a little bait and switch, basically like, hey, look at this nice Tesla bot that you can work on, and then you sign the contract and like, yeah, you're working on FSD.
Yeah. Uh, here's an interesting one from Goku Ponzi, who's kind of I think on the fan side. If a driver runs off the road or crashes into a vehicle or other object on cruise control, who is at fault? Obviously, the driver. The same goes for autopilot and FSD beta. Yes, that's obviously true. All the people who crash with autopilot
Mm,
are absolutely at fault. That's the
mhm,
whole point. But
yeah.
the bigger picture thing is, autopilot and FS or beta, whatever version of people are using, is crashing into things. So that means that it's not ready yet, or it's not close to ready yet.
Yeah,
So
and I think there's a limit to that statement though, because I know I've no evidence of that. I've never seen it happening, never seen it on video or something. But what if you actually are paying attention? You have your hands on the steering wheel, and then like for some reason because the system just quickly like swings you away from the another lane and crash you into something, like you don't have time to like bring it back, like it's that quick. Like then is Tesla responsible because Tesla actually like initiated the accident, and you couldn't like respond to it in time, even though you did everything you could, you were ready, you have your hands on your steering wheel. It's just that, like,
right,
because here's the thing with those things, like keep your hand on the steering wheel, it's actually like apply torque to the steering wheel, but then you're not applying torque all the time, because when autopilot is on, when FSD is on, like you kind of you let it do its thing a little bit, like you're not fighting it when you use it, so it's a gray area here. That's uh
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of lawyers would jump on that, like, on the case like that.
yeah. Especially like at the last second, like if you're just driving down a 2-lane road on autopilot, and then at the last second it just veers into the other lane and hits an oncoming car, like you
Mhm,
can't
mhm,
stop that. That's going to screw you up. I know, I'm
yeah.
scared of that all the time. All right. By the way, saw a video today of the first Model Ys arriving in Norway. You heard it here first.
Mm.
The Model Ys are in Norway.
No, they are everywhere now. I've been
Yeah.
seeing them like since that not my Model Y picture came out. Like they've been all over Europe right now.
Saw an interesting video on the future of gas stations, with Norway having to do site remediations and figure out what to do with the obsolete infrastructure. That's a great point.
Yeah,
Norway is the future.
yeah.
Thanks for the bolt. You're welcome. Norway is unique, in that in that they have a huge resource and free hydroelectric power.
Mhm.
They also have a lot of oil gas, but they export it. Iceland is very similar with geothermal, but had low EV rate.
It's
Uh,
not that low, I think. I mean, there's no volume for sure, but I think in terms of percentage, it's certainly higher than the US. I would bet.
all right, Shane asks, will the US made ID4 come with heat pumps? I don't think the European first edition have them. That's a great question. I will
I
find out on the 15th, if not sooner.
Yeah, I think yes, but I
Yeah, I
think
want to
you're
say
right.
yes
Yeah.
too. And then we already talked about the Tesla bot walking up to a supercharger and plugging itself in. That kind of sounds sexual. I don't want to think about that.
Well, not plugging itself in, but also like plugging cars. Like you could
Yeah,
have a Tesla bot being a supercharger attendant,
yeah,
and you don't need the state car charger anymore. Like Tesla's been thinking about the solution, because you want, with full self driving, you want to be able to send your car to get charged while you don't have to be there. But there's a problem of actually plugging it in once you're there. We just solve it. There's a Tesla bot attendant at every supercharger out there.
all right.
Let me finish on
Go ahead.
this real quick, and it's maybe more of like a economy question for people, because I thought it was an interesting question that someone asked Elon during the question and answer portion of the presentation yesterday. But Elon seemed mad at it and like dismissed it right away. It was like, yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll see. And the question was, um, it's odd that Tesla goes from a full self-driving vehicle high-end vehicle, make it full self-driving, and solve this issue. Use the AI to solve this issue, and go to that to a robot whose value proposition, like the value proposition of a full self-driving car, is obviously to replace driving, which is extremely costly. Like it's time, like whatever your rate is, like it's a time that you're not doing labor, you're driving instead. Like it's money that you lose, and depending on how much money you make, how much your time, you value your time, it can be a lot of money. For the bot thing, Elon said it's going to be like menial task that's going to be able to do, at least for at first, or for probably for a long time. um, those menial tasks are not being valued highly. Like it's cheap. There's cheap labor out there. Like it's not necessarily a good thing, but it exists. So the guy asked a simple question. It's like, how do you reconcile the two? Like, how is the Tesla bot going to make sense financially if what it does is really replace tasks for you? I think the answer is simple. That's it's a Tesla product, and that tons of Tesla fans are going to buy it no matter what. But I think it's a fair question. Like, economically speaking, will it make sense? Because you know that thing ain't going to be cheap. Like that thing's going to be the price of a car, if not more. Like if that thing starts at less than $40,000-$50,000, I'd be surprised. Are you on board with that, Seth? You think that's am I off with that, or
No, no, that makes sense.
yeah, 40, 50? Anyway, I'll leave you with that, and we're gonna see you same time next week. Next week's gonna be the last one until I leave for the well, I'm gonna go to the US before I go to Germany, but it's gonna be the last thing. Last time for a while, I'm gonna do a show from the studio here. And I'm coming up with a new studio soon. That's gonna be a lot better. You guys gonna see, but that's gonna be when I come back from the trip. In the meantime, stay safe out there. Fight the robot revolution. Go watch High Movie, and